All right, welcome back to the Lunch Table Food for Thought. My name is Nico Blitz. You know, we have a whole bunch of amazing Asian artists on this platform, including my next guest. He's been making so much noise for maybe like the past 2 years. Um, from Manila originally, moved out here to the United States when he was around 13. He participated in a very big Philippines Idol type situation. And he has his new single out called Lost in Love, which I absolutely love because apparently this man was playing Pokemon while this during the creation of this song. Miguel Odron, what's poppin', fam?
Hey, thank you for having me, Nico.
Yo, I'm so happy to have you, man. So I'm gonna be honest, bro. I didn't know anything about you up until Tarsier Records showed me the Lost in Love record, and I
Right.
said, "Yo, this song is fire," because I got the preview, right? And then I end up going on your Spotify account and I'm like, there is no way. I love every single song that you put out, man.
Dude, thank you so much. Thank you.
No problem, man. And it's like, Lost in Love is kind of like the gamer in me that I really love. You have a song. Let me just pull up the Spotify right now, so I don't butcher any of the names, bro. Chevy Cruise is a vibe. Weed. I'm over here just like chilling with bro. I love your music, man. Like I literally texted my girlfriend like listening to your music, and I was like, "Yo, you're gonna love every single song."
Thank you so much.
No problem, man. You have a very interesting story. So you're from Manila, yeah?
Yeah. I grew up. Well, I kind of grew up all over the place because my maternal side of my family is from Butuan in Mindanao. I don't know if you're familiar with that place. So part of my childhood, I grew up there, and then we moved to Manila for a time, and then we moved to this place called Cliffside Park, which is on the edge of New Jersey and New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like it was right on the edge of New York, right? So and also around the time that 9/11 happened, and so we could
Wow.
like literally see the towers. Yeah, we could see the towers fall from where we were. And after that shit went down, like my mom was like, "Okay, you guys are not staying here." Like she sent us back to Manila and stayed there for a few years and then moved to Indiana when I was 13. So it's kind of been all over the place.
You have definitely been all over the place, man. First of all, this man said he experienced 9/11 like in the flesh. But why the move from the Philippines to New York initially? Do you even know why?
Um, I think I was too young to understand. I think now from my, sorry, Twitter, from my adult understanding, it was like my mom was just trying to escape whatever. It was like a really tough situation with my dad, my biological
Mm.
dad at the time. She was
Yeah.
just trying to like get as far away from that as possible, and yeah.
Okay. And then you end up in New York. I gotta ask you because as like an American, I remember when 9/11 happened, right?
Yeah.
Like I was in school. I was probably in like maybe fourth or fifth grade, something like that.
Right.
And basically the schools had told everybody like, hey, everyone's going home to their parents. What do you do? And we had just thought like, yo, like we get a day off.
Same.
Cool.
Same. It was the same exact thing. It was like a beautiful, like sunny day, and I just thought we were just like going home. Like I thought they were just like it was like a fun moment, and then I remember going back into our apartment, and I just see my stepdad is like looking at the screen like with his hands, and me and my brother didn't understand what was going on, like at all. Sorry, can you hear that notification?
Oh no, no, no. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah, he was just like his hands on the screen, just like this look of utter horror on his face, and we didn't understand what was going on until, um, even when my mom explained to us, we didn't get it until we drove by like the like there's like a cliff area that overlooks New York City, and we could see
Mhm.
the smoke. We could see the smoke. It was really crazy.
That is wild, man. So you weren't like close enough to I mean, you were close enough to see the smoke, but you weren't like within proximity of
Yeah,
the
yeah, no, it wasn't
test.
in New York. We were like on the edge of yeah.
Man, that's actually insane. And I could see why your mom wanted to move you guys out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So, did she just pick Indiana afterwards, or what was appealing about Indiana?
Yeah, I guess because my mom, at the time we moved back. My stepfather passed, so my mom was
Mm.
like raising us on her own, and she didn't feel comfortable raising us by herself in the city.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like she wanted it to be a little more stable for her, um, and I mean, my mom had all sorts of fears about like two adolescent boys growing up in the city and like getting into all sorts of crazy shit. So she decided to move us like in the middle of nowhere where we could have like a normal quote unquote
Regular
normal,
life.
yeah, regular suburban life.
And so, how long were you guys in Indiana for?
Uh 10 years.
10 years, man.
Yeah, 10 years. I'm
You're
assuming
over here like raising chickens and everything.
right. I'm guessing are you from the city? Like are you from like
Yeah,
West?
so I'm from San Francisco, so like
Okay.
it's literally nothing but skyscrapers everywhere.
Right. Like, yeah, it's probably really foreign to you, but yeah, it's pretty much like you say. It is like cornfields everywhere, and
Bro, you must have been so bored when you first
I
moved to Indiana.
was, I was, but like that boredom, I think, was a blessing in disguise because I think when you allow your kids to be bored, they figure out ways to entertain themselves, and for me, that was my music and that was my art.
Mm.
So I think it worked out for me in a weird. Even though growing up, I was like, I fucking hate, like, I fucking hate. Why the fuck are we in the middle of fucking nowhere?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it worked out for me and my brother because we were able to like just really dive into things. You know.
That's great, man. And in terms of music, are you talking about like strictly singing, or did you pick up any like instruments?
Yeah. Well, my mom put us into piano lessons when we were really young. But that was like when we were living here in the Philippines. She sent us to like, I don't know if you're aware of University of the Philippines. Like they have like a college of music and like a music program for like kids to learn how to play piano.
Oh,
And
so they do. So they do push music. They don't just put doctors and lawyers in the Philippines.
oh yeah. Yeah. But yeah. I think that's more Filipino American
Oh, the
parents.
doctor stuff.
Yeah, the doctor. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah,
Well,
she
that's
put
why
us
I'm
to
just so intrigued to the fact that they have like an actual school where they push, people in the Philippines to do music.
right. So yeah, classically trained in piano. When we moved to the States, I started getting bored with piano, so um, I picked up the guitar. That's when I started writing songs. Joined a bunch of songwriting competitions, and like singing really wasn't like it wasn't like at the forefront of what I wanted to do. It's just I was writing songs and somebody had to sing the songs. So I had to
Yeah.
like teach myself how to sing, and yeah, that's where it came about.
Okay, so like as songwriters, right? I know you write about stuff that you're obviously inspired by. What were you writing about back when you were in Indiana?
Oh my god, like dumb shit, like dumb ideas about like like when you're growing up and you have all these weird ideas about what love is and
Mm.
relationships, like shit like that.
I feel like those songs kind of just they last, and like because I used to like rap when I was young, right? And my
Right.
raps would be about like those particular things, and then you find out like as you grow older, like even you yourself, right? Like like music like that is just so long term.
Right. I think actually to add to your point, it's like the stuff you write when you're younger seems a little more long term because it's a lot more idealistic and like you have all sorts of ideas about like rainbows and butterflies and love, and I feel like that's the kind of shit that people want to latch onto, like
Yeah.
instead of the realistic kind of stuff, like when it comes to how relationships actually are, like people are more interested in the fantasy of it than the reality. So
Well, I mean, the fantasy is what really gets people hooked, honestly. Like,
yeah.
I think that's why, for instance, right? And I didn't think we would get to this point of the conversation this quick, but like, Lost in Love, for example, the fact that like you remixed it and you made it sound like an 8-bit record with your voice on it, I'm like, yo, this is like, do you think anyone ever could have imagined that? Like, that's the thing. It's like these things aren't even like no one thinks of these things like when we're young. It just so happens to happen sometimes, you know?
What do you mean? Could I have imagined what? Like what
Well,
exactly?
like could you have imagined like when you were younger and you heard the Air Supply song that you were like, "Yo, I'm gonna make like an 8-bit remixed record of this song one day." Like,
No.
no one ever you probably never would have thought of that when you were a kid, but the fact that that song is like it's such a classic record.
Yeah.
It's like, and you could kind of just do anything unimaginable to it.
Exactly, and I think I think that's the beauty of when a song is written really well and like it's just a well structured song. It's really hard to kind of fuck it up, and so when I realized that, because I mean when my label approached me to do the song, I was like, oh shit, like Air Supply, like you want me to like do an Air Supply,
Yeah.
like, but even the pressure of like having to remake a classic that has been part of people's lives, their weddings and whatever anniversaries, like every single significant moment of people's lives, like the song has been a part of it. So it's like once I understood that like I don't have to make it as good as the original, and like the goal is just for me to produce the song or reproduce the song as if I had written it myself, like
Mm.
I didn't have to like worry about like competing with this, or you know what I'm saying, or like trying to like measure up to this, because it's like it's not about that. It's just about making it sound like me. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
making it sound like your own.
Yeah.
Definitely making it sound like your own. Because I guarantee you, man, like, not a lot of people know about the Air Supply record, and people are gonna listen to yours like, "Man, this is absolutely like, how did he come up with this? This is phenomenal."
Thank you so
But
much.
it's good that A, like, you pay homage to it, like, you obviously say, like, "Yo, this is, like, the throwback Air Supply record." In addition to that, like, it just sounds like a completely new song, like, I literally listened to the Air Supply record, like, after I played yours, and I'm like, "Yo, honestly, I couldn't even tell." I mean, lyrics aside, like, I couldn't tell this was the same record. But anyway, speaking of, like, records that, like, that you recreate in your own, I actually watched your audition for the Philippines Idol,
Oh
and
god.
bro, the way you first of all, the way you were singing "Weak" was so damn good.
Thank you so much.
It
Thank
was
you.
so good. So now I'm assuming you grew up on, like, R&B, SWV, Aaliyah, and all that.
Oh my god, yeah, like Aaliyah, like her production, like the producers she was working with was just so iconic at the time, and like
Mhm.
I mean, I still like listen to some of those tracks, and I still think they sound amazing. Like, you know what I mean? Like production wise, and like the people she was working with, Missy, and it's just insane. Like, um, but yeah, lots of R&B. My my mom's partner, who she's still with, but the partner that she met when we had moved to Indiana. Um, used to be a drummer for Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, like these big Motown and like I mean, uh, yeah, like so. Um, I grew up with a lot of like soul music in the house and a lot of these things, and he was the kind of the person that instilled in me like if you have an artist that you idolize, look at the people and study the people that they idolized, and then
Mm.
just kind of like build this family tree of like influences, like just go back as far as you can, and try to understand where your favorite artists got their sound, or like you know what I'm saying, because I mean everything is borrowed really. Like
Yeah.
nothing is like completely original, um, but yeah, I really learned from him how to sort of make a well referenced track, if that makes
So
sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So where does your musical tree start and to where is it now?
The two artists it started with are Amy Winehouse and Mariah Carey, because like Mariah, I mean everybody knows like all of her like greatest like hero and like all of that big
Mhm.
shit, but like some of her like really low key like like underrated songs from like 95 to like early 2000s, like some of that shit is the best produced and best like best written work like in the history of mankind. Like she has a lot of really amazing low how do I say this, like deep cuts. And so Mariah Carey, and then Amy Winehouse, and then from Amy Winehouse, Mariah Carey, Aretha Franklin, Donny Hathaway, Stevie Wonder, going back, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, James Brown, and then
Man,
Prince, that kind of thing. So
you really did your history, man. I love
yeah.
it. I love it. So what about today? Like, who are some people that you see like who are like a little bit more current that you see as like, oh, I get influenced by this person or that person.
Oh yeah, for sure. I really like Tyler the Creator.
Oh,
Tiny
that okay. First of
Luchis.
all, we went from Mariah Carey to Tyler the Creator. I'm like, bruh, like, where are we going?
Right.
That's cool
Frank
though. That's
Ocean.
cool.
Frank Ocean, of course.
Okay.
Like when Channel Orange came out, I didn't listen to anything else for like 7 months. That's all I listened to. Like just
Yeah.
played the CD out for like 7 months. Um, yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with
Hey.
Sabrina Claudio.
Oh yeah,
Like
Sabrina Claudio's fire.
yeah,
Hey,
she's
I don't want to skip over this, and I don't have this conversation, but since this is a podcast, right? So here's my thought about Frank Ocean, right? Peep
okay.
this.
Let's hear it.
Channel Orange is like top 10 albums of all time, right? But
Yeah.
what was the name of his last album? It was a fuck,
Uh,
it's like right off the tip of my head. Is it Blonde? Blonde,
Blonde,
Blonde.
right?
But
Yeah.
Blonde is completely overrated.
Oh, yeah. I haven't really like dived deep into that one, so I can't give an
Okay.
opinion. But yeah.
Okay. Do me a favor. Listen to Blonde, Miguel. Listen to Blonde, and let me know what you think afterwards, man. Because I think my girlfriend loves Frank Ocean,
Yeah.
but I be telling her like, "Yo, this is not like Channel Orange." But
Right.
anyways,
But also like it's kind of that thing like when you create something that's so massive, um, we kind of have to like relieve artists of the pressure of trying to like compete with
their past
this
work.
massive. Yeah, especially if it's been like super massive, because it's like I mean, the overrated thing. I think if he if he fell short of making another Channel Orange or making something better than Channel Orange, people are always going to say it's overrated because they have this massive expectation of, because Channel Orange is like really like fire, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know, like yeah, but like I'll listen to it. I'll let you know what I think.
yeah. Please
I did
do.
hear is this cover of Moon River on that album?
I think it is. I think it is. I've honestly only listened to Blonde like twice. And there's
Oh,
only
okay.
like
That's
there's
how.
only like one or
That's
two
how much.
songs on there where I'm like, all right, like I could dig it, but I'm like, I can't listen to it. It's like it's just like one of those albums where it's moving at like 40 beats per minute the entire time, and I'm like, yo,
Oh
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
just just speed it up just a little bit, please.
Right.
But it's all good. It's cool. You know what I do enjoy is like the direction of R&B nowadays though nowadays. And your
Yeah.
music very much reminds me of that. Like I think what happened was that in the 2000s R&B became super fast. Like,
Yeah.
it started to hit like that 99 100 beats per minute, and then along like the 2010s it started to like dissipate, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, at like the tail end of like let's say like 2017, 2018 up until now, like R&B music is like slow again.
Yeah.
And like I just absolutely love where the direction of R&B is right now.
Right. And it's cool that you kind of like mention me along with that genre, because like every time I'm here in the Philippines, maybe just people just have a different musical context here in
Hmm.
the Philippines. They have a very different definition of what they think R&B music is. But I'm never categorized as R&B like here. Like people say like synth pop or like, other things, but like really, I mean, I don't care. Like it's like whatever, you can call me whatever you want. But like primarily, I listen to R&B artists, so I hope that kind of injects itself.
Oh yeah,
So
bro. It
that I
100% resonates. I'm over here just like, what other genre is he? Like that's literally how his music sounds.
right.
I have this talk with people over at Tarsier Records, and I always ask like, what exactly is OPM, right?
Yeah.
So I talked to my friend Roslyn about this. She's like, well, OPM is Inigo Pascual. OPM is also Sweetie. OPM is also Guapdad 4000. But OPM is also like Miguel Odron and Bugoy Drilon. And I'm like, first of all, Roslyn, the only correlation that all of them have is that they're all Filipino. But I get what
Right.
you're saying. But as like sonically, they all don't sound the same.
You know what it kind of is, and it reminds me of, and you can correct me, I feel like you have more musical knowledge than I do. What it reminds me of is how people say indie music, but really indie music started off meaning independent music,
Yes.
but indie music has become a sort of sound on its own. And so it's kind of the same thing. It's like OPM, the intention is it's original Filipino music made by Filipino artists, but OPM has kind of developed a sound of its own. So like the sound that people associate most with OPM, at least here in the Philippines, is like the acoustic sort of like Moira and
Mhm.
like the Four of Spades stuff, and like the very there's a certain like musical sensibility here that's very different, I think. So I don't know, maybe yeah.
If- Look, I don't know. That's the thing. That's why I'm at. That's why I be asking everybody who's on here, like, man, I don't know the definition of original Filipino music. I
I,
thought
I
original
think
Filipino music was like Glock 9.
I think it should be I think it should be if you're a Filipino making music. That's what it is.
Okay.
Just so we can be just so we can include everybody.
Yeah, you know what? For the sake of this interview, we will chalk it up to, as long as you're Filipino, you are original Filipino music.
Right,
You could be hip hop original Filipino music. You could also be R&B original Filipino music.
right.
But like it is what it is. It really is what it is. So how did you even get to the point of entering the competition over in the Philippines? Some people have like stories of just like I just got an email and then boom, or somebody reached out to me.
Okay, so the time that people were talking about the competition happening, um I was already picked up by Star Music,
Yeah.
and I was having a meeting with them, and then one of the heads of the label was like, "Hey, there's this like new show that ABS over there is doing, Idol Philippines. Like, it's like a singing competition. Like, you might be interested in doing that. Whatever." And like, I always had envisioned myself as a studio artist, like never like a competition, because you know how it is. I mean, if you ever seen like an episode of a competition over here, it's like intense. Like these people here like are not joking when it comes to
Yeah.
singing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like insane. So I was like, oh, I begged them. I was like, please, like, don't, like, they weren't forcing me to do anything, but I just, I felt like I was, maybe being pressured to do it.
Mm.
Um, but
I mean, honestly, bro, you're not the only person who felt that way. Like, I've spoken to people who have like been in American Idol, for example, and like, there's always that little bit of pressure of just like, hey, like maybe you should choke a little bit during this set. Like, oh, hey, maybe you should act a little bit more like this just to add some like flavor. But
right.
it's all for like the TV antics.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I auditioned for the show. I didn't know I was gonna make it, because I mean, like, for the audition, I guess they instruct all of the people that are there to like have complete poker faces, so you absolutely have no idea of how you did.
And
So
he'll be like,
Yeah. I really thought that coming out of that, because I mean, before you see, I mean, the audition that you were talking about where I played weak, there's like 3 or 4 stages before that of culling that you have to go through before you can even get to that point.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah, so it's like it was like I had no idea that I was even gonna like get to the auditions, but I did. I had no idea that I was gonna get 4 yeses, but I did. I had no idea I was gonna get to like like finals, and I did. So the whole time it was just like me like thinking to myself, okay, when am I gonna get eliminated? Because I'm really not like it's not in me. I'm a songwriter, I'm a recording artist, but it really wasn't. I had to learn how to perform on that show.
Mm.
It wasn't like everybody else on that show, like they've had like years and years of like performance experience. um so yeah,
And here
I
you
don't know.
come. You're over here just like first time doing it. You're just waltzing through all the way to the finals. You're like, man, y'all had 14 years. I'm coming over here just like waltzing through.
uh, I'm really
I'm
lucky.
messing with you, bro. I'm messing with you. But what was like your biggest takeaway from being on Idol Philippines?
Hmm.
Like, is there anything that you learned about yourself that you finally learned about yourself through that process? Anything about the music industry that you learned, like, because that's a long tough process to go to, because you're put in competition with people, you're
Right.
getting put on stage to perform in front of people like on a very frequent basis.
Okay, so the first thing I can think of is um that, like, speaking of competition, like I learned on the show that I'm never gonna compromise my sound,
Mm.
to like have any sort of, I'm never gonna, because being on a show where you're compared to other people, it's like it kind of like helped all of us like narrow like what it is that um what our sound is, or how we want to present
Mm.
our, you know what I mean? Because you're constantly being compared to these other people, and there's also the pressure of trying to do the same things that these other kids are doing with their voices. It's like, no, like it works on them, it's not going to work on you. Like
Yeah.
so learning how to like um feel what comes naturally with my voice, like learning the kind of like flaws and imperfections in my voice that I actually want to bring out and that make my voice
Mm.
unique. That's one of the things I learned on the show. And then the second thing I learned on the show is I learned from one of the judges, who, like, after a really shitty performance, like on live rounds one time, I was like crying. I was crying in the hallway, and then one of the producers of the show was like, "Hey, somebody wants to talk to you." And so I walk into this dressing room, and there she is, this like fully like made up like goddess of a human being, like Regine Velasquez is sitting there across from me, and she's like, "Why are you crying? Like, come here, sit down." And she said to me some of the things that like I'm always gonna carry with me like for the rest of my life, not even just like in relation to like the industry, but in life in general. She said something along the lines of, "It's like, uh, you know, there are people out there that are 10 times more talented than you or me, who are never going to have the opportunities ever in their life to do what we're doing.
Mm.
So there's a reason why you're here. So
Hmm.
you better take advantage of that, because somebody else wishes they could be in your spot right now." And,
Mm.
that's really stuck with me ever since.
I mean, that's some real shit.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to say other than that's some real shit, because I always think about that, right? Like, for instance, my family's always been like a little bit more like, comfortable. We're not like rich, but like a little bit more of like an American middle class family, right?
Mhm.
And so growing up, I always just let opportunities just kind of pass me by, because I'd be like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll be
Right.
fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. And then as soon as I move out and I realize, well, I'm the one who's paying rent. I'm the one who has to feed myself. I'm the one who got to pay for my car. I'm the one who got to pay for my gas. I'm the one who got to pay for like 10 different things in like a single month.
Yeah.
like that's when I came to realize, you know what, like all those opportunities that I passed up were just so I should have been a little bit more smarter about that. So
Yeah.
now I live life like, yo, any opportunity, let me maximize this. I'm
Right.
not
Right.
gonna give 10%. I'm not even gonna give 90%. I need to give 100% of my energy into what I'm doing right now.
Right.
And so, I feel like you do that the
Oh,
exact same
thank
way.
you. Thank you.
No problem, man. No problem. So interesting because like, I went on YouTube. That's literally how I do a lot of my research, right? And there was a video about, you talking about like, you are openly like gay. And it's
Right.
kind of
Right.
interesting because like in America, there's like this huge divide, right? It's like some people are for it, some people are against it. And then
Right.
in the Philippines, it's like I guess it's a little bit more like I guess it's still kind of like 50-50 in some parts, depending on where you go and the people that you're around. Like, so like, how was that process like for you? And what, like, first of all, like, what made you realize that, like, you're gay?
Oh, that I was gay. Oh,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
that goes way before
Oh,
any
that
of
was like a long time
yeah, that
ago.
was a long time ago. I think I was in fifth grade, and what was it like? All my friends who were boys like started having their crush on this girl. Her name's Dia. Hi, Dia. and and um and I didn't have a crush on this girl, and then I realized, like, who do I have a crush on? I had a crush on this boy in my class. And
Mm,
then that's when it like clicked for me, and I was like, oh shit, that's what was weird about me, because I've always like felt weird like growing up. I was like, oh, that's what it was. And
mm,
then it was this kind of like moment of like, oh, okay, like relief, like, okay, there's an explanation for why I feel so weird. So
yeah.
I was kind of like had that sense of self-awareness like as a kid, that because it's like frowned upon in society, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but like I was so stubborn in who I was that I never like really allowed it to get to me. So I was lucky in
Mm.
that way, in the way I was raised by my parents. But yeah, I guess that's how I found out I was gay. I don't know if that's a really
So,
interesting story.
yeah, no, it is interesting because I feel like a lot of people just like kind of go through that denial, but it seems like you accepted it and you knew about it, like, when you were young. So,
Yeah,
kudos to you because, especially like nowadays where people are like, coming out more and like openly talking about like their sexual preferences and whatnot. Like, I think it's really cool that people are finally becoming more bold about like who they are. So, kudos to
right,
you.
right.
So then when did you come out and, like what was your strategy behind it, if any?
Okay, so with my parents, I never really had to come out because, like I said, I was really stubborn about my identity, and like I have an older brother, like who's a year older, and who's straight, and like
Mhm,
I saw him, and he never had to explain why he was bringing a girl home. He never had to like explain who he was. So I kind of like had this stubbornness in my head, like I don't have to explain to anybody, like who, not even to my mom. I don't care. Like it's like I
mhm.
shouldn't have to like explain to you or justify to anybody why what I am or whatever. So like my I'm such an idiot. My sophomore year of college, I for Christmas break, I just brought the guy I was dating home, like, and it was just that. Like I was like, hey, this
Oh.
is yeah, and then my mom didn't say anything. Like she was just like, oh, okay. And so in a lot of ways, like it's very unconventional, like coming out. I never really came out to my parents. I just sort of let them figure it out for themselves and like accept it, because I just the thought, like, if you ask my like 19-year-old self like about coming out, I think he would be cringing at the idea of having to sit down his mom and be like, hey, like,
Mm,
this is what I like, and this is, like, meanwhile my brother over there is just sitting in his room like carefree, like not having, I didn't see a difference between my brother and me. So very
mm.
stubborn. Yeah, I was very stubborn about that kind of stuff. But in
Hey, can I
hindsight, I probably should have come out to her in a proper way.
No, but you know what? You know what I really like enjoy about your story is that you just normalized it.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like right now it's normal to like accept like who you are obviously, but then it's normal to like, "Hey mom, hey dad, like this is the situation that's going like this is like who I am" type of situation, right? But I
right,
think you took it a step further
right.
and you
Because I
just
really,
you
yeah,
just straight up normalized it.
I really feel like that's the way it should be. Like, kids shouldn't have to like explain themselves. They'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, or like come to their parents with a sort of like, and have to apologize for who they are. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
um, that's really what I was stubborn about, and I was just like, if she has a problem with it, then that's on her. It's really
Yeah.
shitty. It's so shitty, but like that's the way I was, and so like being on Idol Philippines and like suddenly having to choose whether I was gonna be out to the public or not. Early
Mm.
on before the live round started, the producers and I had this conversation, and nobody pressured me to like to be to like hide.
To be the gay person on the show.
Yeah, nobody pushed me to be the gay person on this because okay, we already had two gay people on the show that were
Oh,
like,
okay, well
you know,
that's
yeah,
that.
yeah. So that whatever market was trying to be filled, it was already being filled.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but there was also no pressure on me to be secretive about it. Um, it was just a conversation that like they wanted to have, and I decided that I was gonna keep it a secret because I could already imagine what being out was going to do for my chances on the show. Like, do you know what I mean? Because it's like I know that sounds bizarre, but it's like when people like it's how do I explain this, when people have a label attached to you,
Mm.
sometimes the label becomes bigger than who you actually are.
I get you. I mean, it's the same way where I literally just said like, "Oh, you would be the gay guy on the show," and then people would remember you as like
Exactly.
the gay guy on the Philippines Idol.
Right. And I didn't want that pressure. I didn't want that responsibility. I didn't want people to be distracted by this giant shiny thing, which I felt like constitutes like such a small part of who I am as a
Yeah.
person. I mean, like it's interesting to me as like my fucking toenails. Like, who the fuck gives a shit? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, who the fuck
Yeah,
gives
yeah,
a shit?
yeah.
It has nothing to do with my voice. It has nothing to do with what I'm trying to offer you. So I wanted it to just not be a distraction for people. So that's the decision I made. And then a year later, after like the show had ended, it was like Pride Month, and I saw everybody on Twitter was just like, "Oh my god, like Happy Pride Month, everybody!" And like, I just felt so sad that entire month that I,
Oh.
I had like pigeonholed myself into the situation where I couldn't be a part of that.
Mhm.
Um, so like on the last day of the month, I just couldn't help myself. I just like sat down, I wrote like this long text, didn't even like edit it, and then posted my coming out story on Instagram, and yeah.
Oh, wow. How did so how what was like I mean, not that you like truly care, but what was the response like once you like put that out
Like
on Instagram?
overwhelmingly positive. Like I like
That's
not a
good.
single. It was insane. Like because I didn't expect it. I thought, okay, my management is gonna drop me, my whatever, because I didn't ask for permission. I didn't ask for permission from anybody. I just sort of like did it on my own. Um, I didn't know what was gonna happen, but it was overwhelmingly positive. Like some news outlets like picked it up, like which I thought was bizarre because I was like, I'm just, like
Yeah.
who cares? Like who cares? But like, yeah, it was good.
But I think that's the thing, though. I mean, first of all, that is absolutely great that you got nothing but positive feedback. But
Yeah,
you know what I like about this conversation? First of all, this conversation we're having right now about you being gay is it's such a double-edged sword, you know?
yeah,
Like I feel like at this point in time, like in the history of Earth, right? Of the world. It's like we talk about it because we are trying to normalize it. But then I would love to see the world in which like we don't have to talk about it because it's already normalized. You get me?
exactly, exactly. That's so true. That's so true, and that's kind of like my one of my biggest internal conflicts with concepts like gay pride and stuff.
Hmm.
Because yes, it's necessary because there are literally kids that are getting murdered for who they are. Like there are
Hmm.
kids that are getting beat the fuck up on the streets for being who they are. Yes, we need that, but at the other end of the spectrum, it's like, why should we have to like? Why should we have
Hmm.
why should we have to justify who we are? Why can't we just fucking be? Why should we
Yeah.
have to parade around with like fucking rainbow colors to get people's attention and to get them
Hmm.
to understand that this should be okay? Why do we need to do that? Like, why can't people just allow us to fucking live? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, totally. Like, I get that. Like, the double-edged sword thing. It's like,
Yeah.
we have to talk about it, but why do we have to talk about
Exactly.
it?
It's like, why do we have to talk about it? And honestly, like the point that you just brought up, like actually is a perfect segue to what I want to talk about next. Is just that like I hate that we have to talk about Asian hate, Asian American hate, Pacific Islander hate. Like I hate the fact that we have to talk about it. Like I mean, especially you, like, living in New York, and I'm not sure if you saw like the video like the other day of just old Filipino lady who got stomped out by that guy. Like what what's your take on everything? Like, how are you at this point in time? Because it was obviously different like a couple months ago. It might be different tomorrow, and it might be different like a month or so from now. But like at this point in time, like what are your thoughts around it? What are your emotions surrounding everything that's going on with
Honestly,
Asian and Pacific Islander hate?
yeah. I haven't been back in the States since 2018, since I moved here. So I've kind of had the luxury of being a little bit more divorced from everything that's going on right now. But when I saw that video, like I, I like it made me so angry, and I'm still so angry to the point where I haven't really processed. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't really processed how I, like objectively feel about what happened. But I just think it's really sad that all of that stuff is going on right now. I don't really know what to say except fuck that shit.
Yeah, fuck that shit, man.
Fuck
Fuck
that
that
shit.
shit.
Yeah.
I do also want to add, like, I think like if you're the least everyone can do is really just educate themselves, right? And
Right.
the sucky part is that like as Filipinos, for example, right? Like we obviously know there's like the skin whitening cream and all that stuff because back home, I'm not saying this happens with every family, but dark skin is like looked frowned upon. It's like frowned upon, right?
Yeah.
And so what sucks is that like these attacks are coming from like a lot of individual people, whether they be white, whether they be black. But I do want to let people know it's like we can't target groups of people who target our group of people. It's literally just a single individual who does this.
Yes, that's true. I think people shouldn't use these kinds of events to weaponize these kinds of moments against groups of people, like in
Hmm.
any way. So yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from that, because I saw a lot of that kind of conversation going on Twitter
Yeah.
too, and I think that's the wrong direction definitely to take. Um, yeah.
Yeah, man. Just people continue to please educate yourself and instead of losing yourself in hate, we need to lose ourselves in love,
That's right. That's
you
right.
know? So the song Lost in Love, since we are back on the subject, where were you, man? I'm like a huge I will show you, bro. Bro, I'm like a huge fan of just like Pokemon. I
Oh
got like
my
bro, I
god.
got Pokemon cards like on
Yeah.
deck, man. So the fact that I read the little bio and you said, I was probably just playing some Pokemon, I'm like, yo, this is insane. I fuck with this guy already.
Yeah, yeah. When I was a kid, we didn't get the chance to really enjoy Pokemon because like it was around the time Yu-Gi-Oh cards was also coming out, and so
Hmm.
every time people would bring Yu-Gi-Oh cards to school, like the teachers would say it was like demonic or whatever. Because
Oh
I went
my
to like
gosh.
I went to like a Christian leaning school. So like nobody played Yu-Gi-Oh! And then it was extended to Pokemon. So I didn't get to enjoy like the Pokemon card game.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but like my love of Pokemon comes from like the GBA games.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I played out Ruby Red. Like I played that shit out like when I was a kid. So actually one of the little sound elements in Lost in Love was inspired this by Ruby Red, by a theme in Ruby Red called Rustboro City. And actually, let me play it for you because I think you'll understand when I. Okay. Contactless online payment. Okay, shut up. Still open, still delicious.
Oh, this is the ad. We're just gonna completely talk over the ad.
Don't know much, thinking
Yo!
they're out of touch. Back on my feet, eager to be. See?
You slowed it down?
No,
You
it's
slowed
not
it
this.
down.
No, it's not. I didn't sample the track, but like those 8-bit sounds were kind of inspired by that. It's like different melodies, but like I kind of wanted to inject that feel into it because yeah.
Yo, yo, tell Tarsier Records we need you to do like a Pokemon promo or something, man. Bro.
No, they don't need me.
No. Do not sell yourself short, bro. That is fine. Because I listened to it and I was like, it's not necessarily Mario, but I kind of hear some, there's some inspiration there. So when I saw Pokemon, I was like, okay, this kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But just the fact that you were inspired by that, bro, you don't know how geeked I am right now, man. I'm super geeked.
Yeah. Because like I said, the song is like very nostalgic, right? But like when I was reproducing the song, I wanted it to be nostalgic, but I wanted it to be my nostalgia, as the millennial person that I am. So that's really why I put it in there. And yeah, I guess it just worked. I don't know.
Man, so question. If you were to construct a Pokemon team, I need your Pokemon team.
Oh my god! Like, I honestly I haven't played in so long, and like the Pokemon database I have is like super old, like old
that's
generation.
fine. That's fine.
Oh god. Okay, I'm trying to remember like what team I had. I had Charizard always because Charizard could always destroy anything like in 5 seconds, and Gyarados. What else did I have? Yeah, I'm blanking, but like.
Hey, man, look.
Oh, I had a. What's there's Abra, right? And then there's like his.
Alakazam.
I had Alakazam, and when I got
Yeah.
that shit, oh my god! Like I felt like the most powerful person on the planet. Because it was hard. It was hard to get
that one you had to like trade for.
Yeah.
You had to like trade it so that it evolved, bro. Man, look, see, between the Charizard, a Gyarados, and an Alakazam, I'm already scared of your team, bro. I'm like, yo, I'm not fucking with him. Yo, Miguel, this was a very interesting interview, my friend. I think we hit like a whole bunch of random emotions.
For sure.
Miguel, so is Lost in Love like attached to a project, or is it just like a single? Like what?
Yeah, so Tarsier is doing this compilation album of Air Supply covers from different artists in Asia.
Wow.
And they actually put one out last month or 2 months ago with Inigo Pascual. He did All Out of Love. And yeah, so I'm doing Lost in Love. I haven't heard if any of the other artists are what they're doing, so I'm very excited to hear what's coming up.
So Inigo is part of a Tarsier as well. Like, so is there any talks about like you guys making music together?
There haven't been. I would love to work with Nico. I think he's got one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard. But he's just a really busy guy, I think, and I think it would take a lot for him to be able to collab with anybody. So, Yeah.
Hey, he ain't that busy. Hey, if you talk to him, ask him about Camp Flogna when he saw Nico.
Camp Flogna. All
Camp
right.
Flog. That's Tyler the Creator's festival,
Oh, okay.
bro. Just ask him. That man was. I'm not even gonna air him out. Just ask him.
Yeah. All right.
So do you have like an EP or a project coming out in like 2021?
I do. I'm still with Star Music.
Okay.
I'm coming out with an EP called Red in hopefully this summer if everything works out correctly. Yeah.
Okay. Why Red? Is that Taylor Swift inspired or?
Oh no, it's not. I wish. She's amazing. She's amazing. But yeah. I don't want to reveal too much, but people when people see the visuals, they'll understand. I think why it's named Red. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Well, we'll look out for Miguel Odron's project Red coming out summer 2021 or around that. Well, thank you so much, Miguel, for stopping by the lunch table, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me, Nico.
No problem. This is the lunch table, food for thought. My name is Nico Blitz, and we are out to everybody. Peace.